Hola, and welcome to the $7 million question. Who wants to be a 7 millionaire? Hosted not by Regis Philtman, hosted by Greg Rice. Today's question, the $7 million question. You can't phone a friend, you can't ask the audience, and even a public records request won't help you answer this question, but I will attempt to dive into it. And I'm going to give you, again, a collection of my work. This has been generated over years, and I'm going to share it with you today. And what we are talking about is 1500 Diamond Hill Road, aka the Walnut Hill Plaza. This is a beautiful commercial property that sits about 23 acres with 24 commercial tenants, including Planet Fitness, Aero Trampoline, Taco Bell, H&R Block, CSL Plasma, you name it. Even Savers. Everybody loves Savers. They're in the plaza. This is a very vibrant destination for Northern Rhode Island and our friends across the border in southern Massachusetts. Yet, the property is assessed at a very measly $6.4 million. And this came to my attention when my under construction church, which was in Fairmount, sitting on 0.6 acres, 0.6, was assessed at $5 million. So I got my assessment of $5 million for my property that's under construction, and I started to look around and I said, what are the other properties assessed at? And I stumbled upon this one. This property is assessed about $1 million more than my little postage stamp in Fairmount. So let's dig in. A few years ago, the city of Woonsocket itself had assessed this property at $13.2 million. And the ownership fought like hell to get that number down, but the city said no. It is the same set of buildings, it's the same set of land, it's the same shopping center. There's been no fire, there's been no collapse, there's been no condemnation, there's been no change. It's business as usual. And if anything, it has gotten better over the years. And yet somehow, without a clear public explanation, the assessed value was quietly cut in half, more than half, by $7 million. In a time when real estate was booming and appreciating like nobody's business. Who remembers a couple of years ago trying to buy anything? Prices went through the roof. And they're just now, in 2026, just now starting to stabilize. So how could this property lose $7 million of assessed value? Well, before I get to that, let's dig in a little bit deeper here. This is not a mom and pop operation at the strip mall. It's over 300,000 square feet, like I said, of a regional retail center on 23 acres of arguably some of the most valuable land in Woonsocket. Okay? And if you look at the city's own records, and I'll put this up for you, the replacement cost alone exceeds $25 million. Okay? And that's what it would take to rebuild the property in the event of a total loss, roughly speaking. $25 million. Yet today, the improvements on the land are assessed at under $2.8 million. So let that sink in. The city is effectively saying that hundreds of thousands of square feet of functioning retail space with active tenants, structure, and utilities are worth less than the land that's beneath them. The structure is worth less than the land. Think about that. That's not normal, that's not conservative, that's alarming. Okay? And here's some before and after, just to give you a picture. In 2022, it's assessed at $13.27 million. Then in 2023, it drops to $6.4 million. And in 2024, it stays about the same. And then at the end of 2024, in December, that property is sold. It's sold for $6.3 million. Immediately after, the assessment mirrors that sale price. And that timing matters. Because instead of the city defending its prior own evaluation of $13.27 million, the assessment collapsed first and then conveniently aligned with the sale. Boom. $6.4 million. $6.3 million. Oh, now it's sold for $6.3 million. But it was just assessed at $13.2 million. Who bought it? They got a really good deal. So assessments are supposed to be independent. They're not supposed to chase deal prices post facto. That's backwards. So that alone raised my suspicion, and I said, I need more information. Because this is just what's publicly available. It's enough to raise a red flag, but it's not enough for me to draw any conclusions. So I said, I have to evaluate this, and I had to fight for the records. I had to submit a public records request, which I'll put up on the screen for you, in May of 2025. All right? And I was asking for some very basic information. The assessment history, any correspondence pertaining to the property and its new valuation, support for the number that they're selecting, any appeal materials, appraisals, things like that, to help me see what the city was seeing. And, these are records that me as a member of the general public are legally entitled to. Now, in Rhode Island, a municipality has 10 business days to respond to a public records request. And they could respond with, hey, we need more time. It's a lot of information. Or, hey, these people don't work here anymore. We need to seek them out. But I received crickets. I received nothing for 7.5, 8 months almost. Okay? And that's not typical, because the city solicitor, Michael Lepizera Jr., is all over it. He's like white on rice, white on Greg Rice. He's on it. So it's very peculiar that he was not on this one. So I was forced to file a formal Access to Public Records Act complaint with the Rhode Island Attorney General, and I'll put that up for you. They acknowledged. Only after the AG opened an official investigation and notified the city's legal counsel did documents begin to surface, and they surfaced very quickly. Transparency didn't happen in Woonsocket voluntarily. It had to be compelled. Okay? And once the records came out, several facts to me stood out. This was not a paper transaction in regards to the sale. The property sold via a full covenant deed, not a quitclaim, and had $28,980 in real estate conveyance tax paid. Immediately after the sale, the buyer placed a $3.7 million commercial mortgage on the property. The mortgage didn't just cover the land, it explicitly pledged leases, rents, fixtures, equipment, and income streams as collateral. And I found that when I looked through the mortgage. So that means that a third-party lender underwrote this deal based on cash flow, not pessimism. Municipal lien certificates showed that over $868,000 in tax-related charges had to be addressed to close the transaction. This was a heavily scrutinized sale with city oversight, not a distressed fire sale. And it makes me wonder, did the city want this sale to go through so that they could get paid those back taxes? Almost $1 million in back taxes. If that sale goes through, we can cash in on what's owed. And I dug into the buyer and seller, and we'll put them up for you. They were clearly unrelated entities from what I can tell. Totally different states, different attorneys, and different signatories. Yet despite all of that, the city still assesses this property as if its income potential doesn't even exist. It's not even there. No such a thing. So next, if you dig into the appeal materials, a pattern emerges. The low valuation isn't driven by new construction costs, market rents, or independent city analysis. It's driven almost entirely by owner-provided income narratives. And this is the appeal that the owner was making, okay? The owner claimed elevated vacancy, depressed rents, heavy concessions, deferred maintenance, and high-risk cap rates. And if you stack enough pessimistic assumptions together, you can mathematically justify almost any number. And that's what they did here. And even more troubling, the city's records show reliance on old C.B. Richard Ellis appraisals from 2014 to 2017. Almost 10 years old. And these appraisals were documents prepared explicitly for lending purposes, with disclaimers that they are not intended for ad valorem taxation. It explicitly says that. Yet those same documents appear to be doing the heavy lifting years later to justify a 50% collapse in value. And is anybody really paying attention to this? Or am I the only one? Who is making these deals? I'm not even done. I got more to go. Who's making these deals? So, next is, my mind, where is the city's independent analysis? Every city, every town, every state relies on third-party independent analysis as a backdrop and a backup to any large-scale decision. So what's still largely missing is the city's own work product. And from what I was given, there's no clear income model prepared by the assessor at that time, no written reconciliation explaining why $13.27 million was suddenly indefensible, no documented cap rate derivation by the city, no explanation for why replacement cost was effectively ignored. Like I mentioned, $25 million replacement cost doesn't seem to be relevant to anything here. And there's no narrative justifying why improvements depreciated to near zero value. The structures, near zero value. To me, instead, the file from the city reads like appeal posture. Okay? Not valuation discipline. And when assessments start tracking negotiation strategy instead of market fundamentals, taxpayers like me start to pay attention. Because the city's flat-footed, backpedaling, instead of on offense with these things. And then let's talk land. And I have some examples, a personal example to provide you. I personally sold 4th Avenue just a couple short months ago for $420,000. And that's in Fairmount. It's a bare piece of land, nothing on it. $420,000 for roughly 1/3 of an acre in the poorest neighborhood in Woonsocket. So if we multiply that to get to an acre, that's roughly $1.26 million per acre. Walnut Hill Plaza sits on 23 acres and arguably some of the best real estate in the city. And if you use that same per acre benchmark, the land alone of Walnut Hill Plaza supports a value of close to $30 million just for the land, before buildings, tenants, or income are even considered. And oh, wait, you want another one? But wait, there's more. So now let's talk about 777 Providence Street. This was a former Little League field that the city owned. It was 2 acres, and they sold it for $749,000. And some of that was not even usable because of the slope over there. But in any event, the city owned that land and got about $375K per acre. And if you multiply that by the 23 acres, you see where the math gets you. And now, 777 Providence Street is a storage facility. And it was recently sold, okay? This property, 777, is now assessed at $7.612 million. It's a storage facility on 2 acres. It's assessed $1 million more than Walnut Hill is. Does that make any sense to anybody? It's not a uniform assessment. It's not a market-based valuation. It's indefensible. 777 should not be that high, and 1500 Diamond Hill should not be that low. Period. But when a major commercial property like Diamond Hill is underassessed, the tax burden doesn't disappear, folks. It gets dispersed and it shifts. And we can see where it goes. It goes to us common folks. And one of those common folks owns 210-212 North Main Street. It is a postage stamp on a postage stamp. Mixed use property, and it experienced a sharp year-over-year increase in assessed value despite no improvements, surrounding vacancies. It's Death Valley over there on North Main Street. Everything is empty, and difficulty for that owner leasing the property. He can't find tenants. Doesn't have parking. It's on a hill. What do? The city says, we're going to take you from $180,000 assessed value, and oh, by the way, you're now at $426,000. So that owner had his property tax increased by over 125%. Like that. And that's because the city has to make up for the $7 million or more that it's not charging Diamond Hill. It's got to disperse that $7 million to unlucky landlords like this gentleman. And I heard this gentleman is running for office. He's so upset and he's so angered about this that this actually motivated him to run for office and do his part in cleaning up the mess, because there's a big mess out there. And he felt it. I've been feeling it for years. He finally felt it for himself, and cheers to him for stepping up and making a difference. So that's redistribution. The big properties get managed gently and with white gloves, okay? And the small properties absorb the difference. And then, meanwhile, 138 Court Street, we'll put these up. We're putting all this up for you. This is a beautiful 7-unit property, 4 residential, 3 commercial, overlooking the beautiful, majestic views of downtown, the bridge, etc. And it's assessed at $311,000. So 210 North Main, which is a measly 4-unit, wedged between vacancies, is assessed at $426,000. And this is a 7-unit. It's got 3 more units. It's assessed $100,000 less. And that's a long-time property owner in the city, who I won't name and mention, but is that also a factor? Oh, we're not going to touch his. Let's just push it over to that one instead. But the bottom line here is no one, not me, not anybody, is accusing the buyer of the Walnut Hill Plaza of wrongdoing. No one is claiming the sale wasn't real. It was real. What is being said is, if a property can clearly support a $13 million valuation based on income potential, land value, lender underwriting, and the city's own comparable actions, then continuing to assess it at a fraction of that fails logic, fairness, and transparency. So my call to action, if anybody's out there, if anybody's listening from Woonsocket, the city should formally reopen the assessment of 1500 Diamond Hill Road and conduct a transparent, income-based valuation review grounded in documented facts like I presented here, not appeal strategy or the worry about, oh, we might have to pay 18% if we lose in court. We don't want to pay that. That would cost us so much money. We don't want to spend time legally going toe-to-toe with this developer, with this owner. Let's just settle. They're too big. Let's disperse it and distribute it to the small guys who can't defend themselves, who can't afford to defend themselves, because you're not given a public defender at the tax board of review. You got to pay for that. And I've spent thousands and thousands in the 5 figures defending and trying to get my appeal done over at the church, and I'm still not there. Because as of today, February 2nd, Councilman Knoyer thought that we needed to table the discussion, and nobody stood up. The assessor did not stand up. The solicitor did not stand up to give him more information that he needs, right? We need to inform our counselors of these types of actions. So therefore, I still don't have an answer, and I'm still paying. I'm paying billable hours for my attorney to watch a council hearing. That's how it works, folks. It's not free. Appeals are not free, and the city knows that. So that's it. We're calling for equality and justice for all as it pertains to tax assessments in Woonsocket. Once again, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management, your property and your property's assessment managed.